So Daisy May, your start was in documentary and you've made an incredible impact there. So what did filming a fiction movie take kind of for you in terms of storytelling and narrative? How did it open the world up of filmmaking for you?
Good question. I guess, like what I said, I think when you make documentaries, it can be, it's like a one-man band really, and you are often, kind of doing things on your own. But actually, when you make fiction, there's like 100 people that come together with their incredible creativity, and at every stage, it just like got better and better and better, far beyond my imagination because of everyone's work and love and care. So that's what really blew me away through the whole process. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, and Lollipop is pointing out the very obvious flaws in the legal and the social care system, especially for people coming from a low-income background. So how did you try and figure out a way of talking about this without it being, preachy, or without it sort of feeling like a lecture? Because, as you said, what comes through is the love.
Yeah.
But how did you navigate that in the writing?
I think it was always really, really important to me to never blame anyone, and that I don't believe people go into work in the system in order to do harm. I think they go in to try and do their best, and then, there's so much red tape. And I think we're so used to seeing on film this duality of like victim, perpetrator, good, bad, and I think we have to move beyond that in order to find real space of connection. And so it was really important. Whilst I was writing, I worked with incredible lived experience advisors for the script that lent generously their feeling and the way that they spoke about it just helped incredibly, as well as speaking to our family lawyer resident and cast member, and judges and social workers and housing officers. It was so important that everyone felt represented, because I'm not here to blame, I'm here to hold up truth. And I think a lot of women experience these things, and we can't ever really critically engage because there's often child protection and you can't really speak about it. So that's why it's so important to be able to have this moment where we can really say, this is how it is happening, and are we as a society happy with it? And we don't have to blame, we just have to take accountability and see and hold a vision for something better, which is full of love and connection and support and compassion.
And Posy, I feel like I'm still having a lot of you. There is so much kind of love for this movie. Posy, what did you kind of connect with first about Molly? What initially drew you in? What resonated with you from the writing?
As soon as I read Lollipop, I felt that I resonated with Daisy May with how she wrote Molly. Because literally, I don't want to repeat what you've just said, but I could feel that in your writing. That there wasn't blame, and there was, as an actor, you have to justify to your dying day, every single decision that your character takes, and Daisy May makes that so easy, even with how challenging Molly's situation is all the time. People might not necessarily agree all the time with the decisions that she makes, but I can only say I was just sort of with her the whole time, and it felt very divine timing, should we say. I have to shout out, there's some really special people in the audience, some very special women from the charity Birth Companions. I know that you've come here tonight. Hi. Sorry. Whoa. And there were things that I found out through working with Clean Break Theatre Company way before I knew about Lollipop, and about the amount of children that go into care each year due to women going into prison. I was doing a play called Sweatbox that was touring the UK, and when I found out some of the things that were happening in this country, I needed to find out more. And Dr. Lucy Abbott, I was having Zoom meetings with you just to do some research off my own back, really. I was like, I just want to know what's going on, and we connected there over lockdown, and we're talking 2 years later when I read Lollipop, it felt like this is it. It's like I'd been preparing for this, and I didn't even know why.
Cosmic baby.
Very cosmic baby.
Very cosmic baby.
Yeah.
It was written in the stars.
It was written in the yeah.
That's incredible. And Idil, I want to bring you in, and for both of you perhaps to answer this, about how you managed to find the right balance between Molly and Amina, because we have to believe that Amina is able to sort of pull Molly out of some of her darkest moments, but also that she depends on Molly's steadiness, that they're both kind of equally there for each other. And that equality, I feel like we don't often see that balance. Like you were talking about victim, perpetrator, we also see like an imbalance of power. And so tell us about finding that balance between the both of you.
I mean, we were talking about this today. I feel like the two characters bounced off each other, and kind of like, you know, when you argue, but then the other person is kind of like has to calm down. And that kind of like understanding and love that people have for each other, it just comes from within. And when we did our chemistry test, we connected so naturally. It was actually quite scary. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just something that I felt within myself when I met, I was going to say Molly, but so she just made it so easy for me to, you know, just connect on that level. And also, this is my first time acting, you know, I've not done this before. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate that. So she really supported me and was my rock throughout the film, as much as like those two characters are, you know, they balance off each other with the love that they have.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And TerriAnn, so the role of Sylvie must have been quite a tough one to nail down, because she does these awful things, but she's never portrayed as a hateful character ever. We still have so much empathy for her throughout. So how did you figure that out and nail down those characteristics, and how did you kind of elevate Sylvie above the script?
First, I love Sylvie. I did when I first read the script, and the line of when she was so pissed that night, and she said it must have been the gherkins. And in that moment,
Which actually my nan said.
Brilliant.
I got her. I just got her. And I tell you what happened. Whilst filming, I felt sorry for Posy and I felt sorry for Molly. But I felt sorry for Posy because I had to maintain being quite offish. So I had to stay in my lane and not really mingle much, even though I did. I love filming her. But I did all Sylvie wanted to do was be able to love. That's what she wanted, the love she wanted to be able to give Molly. And I just watched it tonight, with that scene at the end, the uncomfortableness, that might be a wrong word, but that don't matter. You know, like, please don't be nice, because I couldn't manage the niceness of it. And I guess maybe from my own experience, taking that out of having lived experience, just wanting someone to love me. Oh gosh.
We love you. We love you.
I love how this is genuinely turning into a bit of a therapy session for all of us.
We're all going to have a group hug at the end.
I hope so. And why was it important for you, Daisy May, to sort of experiment a little bit or move away from more traditional ways of writing and filmmaking and sort of forge your own path with how you created this film? And also then how did you encourage the same thing with your actors?
Oh, I guess because I never went to film school, you know, I got into documentary through filming my own homelessness experience. I never learned how to do that. I just felt compelled and followed my heart and, trusted my gut. And I guess that was then how I approached fiction. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't scary and I didn't doubt myself, and I had incredible supportive people around me that really nurtured and encouraged my authenticity. Like, no one ever... It was always express yourself even more, be more of yourself. And I think when you don't know the industry necessarily and all the hierarchies and the ways that things exist, you can actually have a bird's eye view and question whether this is, whether we're working in the right way. Like, the film industry is just another system, the same as all the other systems that we're looking at. And we can really be able to critically engage with, are we putting care and love and kindness at the centre? And so we worked in a trauma-informed way. This was a trauma-informed production, which basically means to acknowledge that we all come with a context, a story. Often the way that we relate to each other may not be from that present moment. It may be because of something that was triggered from, however long back. And so the space that was created on set and also in the rehearsal room, and just, I guess, how we all related was that you can come and bring your full self and it's safe. Yeah. And, you still work hard and you still put your all into it, but there's a sense of vulnerability that it's safe to be you. And we, had a trauma consultant, Maria, on set, available to us, because, we were filming some very deep and raw scenes. And I think sometimes that's also not acknowledged, you might experience something and then go home and kind of take it out when you're at home, but you're not really sure why. So it's just kind of creating that framework to be able to go to these places, because I think ultimately safety is like the fundamental part of it. And also we have sorry, I could talk about this forever, can you tell? I'm just passionate, but I think in relating to cast, the way that I heard it was that it was quite extractive, like stand there, go again, show me your heart, and then leave. And I just found that so not holding any humanity and sacredness. And so, I really tried to create as well, with all the incredible support of the crew, a bubble of love where the actors felt really contained and therefore were able to go to those places but felt safe to.
Yeah, wow. And we need to talk about the incredible child actors in Lollipop. I've never seen anything like it. I was so impressed with everybody. And I know a lot of that was down to the casting of Lucy Pardee, who worked very well known for casting Rocks. Incredible director.
Are they here? Lucy and Coral.
Thank you so much, Coral, as well. I mean, just it's so exciting when we have new talent, when we kind of recognise new talent around. How do you sort of ensure that they are able to give the best on the day in terms of how do you workshop it? How do you guys build up a relationship with, you're supposed to be their mums, you're their mums. How do you kind of, figure that out?
Well, we had some incredible bonding days before we started. Well, actually, let's talk about the chemistry tests even before that, when with Lucy and Coral and Daisy May. I knew who you were going to choose. I mean, all the children were incredible. They were amazing, but just it felt right. And I think because Daisy May had this incredible script, but then had the freedom and permission to go and improvise a version of that scene. And Luke would just take it everywhere, and we really kept on our toes, and it was an absolute joy. But that constant need for play in the pretend and keeping it playful and alive, and I suppose in the real life, a child of his age maybe wouldn't know everything that would be going on, and so to really, and I think that was intentional, right, in the way that we worked. It felt very playful. I will say we had a bonding day where I took the children to Hackney City Farm with a chaperone, and Luke we discovered as a method actor, because we were looking at some sheep and the goats and having a great time, and we decided to kind of climb over a fence, and he goes, "Mum, stop, you're going to go back to prison." And it was half term. And a lot of people around.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he is incredible. Great core memory for me. So yeah.
So tell us then, in terms
and just to say, that is Idil's real daughter.
I know.
Yeah.
Aaliyah. Hi to Aaliyah. the scenes with you and Aaliyah are just, very like less traumatic, I think, than some of the other scenes. But tell us about kind of creating that, what it was like to work with your daughter both for the first time on screen.
It was really, I enjoyed it so much, and I think Aaliyah supported me so much through the lines. I think I was so nervous, and she was like, "Mom, come on, you've got it." She was just like my backbone, so I really appreciate her being there, and also sharing that bond together. And this is, we're always going to remember this, and it's been 3 years now, over 3 years. And she's changed so much, and so that's just like our little bond together and our moment. It's just it's amazing. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Can you tell us about, like, there are obviously some really intense scenes, some scenes which kind of shift genre within them. Tell us, both of you, about filming with the landlady, and because it's hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
There she is.
The evil landlady.
I have a funny story about that, because when we were doing the pushing, when she was pushing me, she actually pushed me, and there was a mattress. And the first scream when she pushed me, it was actually quite scary because it felt so real. And then afterwards, it kept happening again because we had to film it again and again. Yeah. And I was so sore for 2 days. I was in so much pain. That was a really funny moment in the film.
That was your first ever stunt as well. You had to learn proper stunt choreography.
He kept telling me, and I was like, okay, I did a stunt. Amazing.
There are points where, like, the camera is moving and you realise how much this is sort of from Molly's perspective. But TerriAnn, I guess because we're kind of coming at it from her perspective, we don't necessarily see, like, where Sylvie kind of came from. So did you sort of build up what had happened to her, what had happened to her to get to this point in her life? Do you kind of create a backstory for your characters?
Yeah, I done it through family members. Mm-hmm. There was even part of my nan in there. When we go on, girl. That was something that my nan would have said to me, and my parents are passed, but the harshness in that, and just the drinking that went on, like there's not even no blame there for me, because it's just the way the world was.
Yeah.
But it transformed me into almost my childhood to become that. Wow. But being a grown up, remembering my life as that. And then actually, and I think the soft bit of Sylvie was TerriAnn playing, not my family history. So it was. I just got I read the script and I got the whole picture.
Yeah.
Maybe a pub world, even though it wasn't all in the pub. It was, but just that kind of a lot of alcohol, a lot of abuse going on. So Sylvie says it in the end. I didn't want you to go through.
Yeah.
But I think you could see that Sylvie went through it anyway.
Yeah. It was only like maybe halfway through that I was suddenly like, are there no men in this? How many of you realised that there were no men?
Wow.
That, like, incredible. So just before we go over to audience questions, tell us about that choice.
Yeah. No men. I think when I was writing, I noticed myself writing, like, the characters that were slightly, that could go into stereotypes were just naturally, through my own bias, were men. And, I think that's part of my experience, but I also didn't want to be limited by that. And what I've kind of learnt through my own healing journey is that there's space for both pain, and this film is really a place where we can honour the voice of the feminine and honour the women that have been told they're too wrong, they're too bad, they're too emotional, they're too much, they're too sexy, they're too far out and wild and all of that. And that this film, in all of its layers and the way that we created it, supported by incredible men as well, is a love letter to the feminine. And I also wanted each character to be able to mirror each other. We're often just kind of one thing someone says to us at school, like a teacher says to us at school, or maybe we get into a university or we don't, or we have, access to poverty, we grow up in poverty or we don't, and we can be on either side of the table. And it was really important to have that mirroring, that whoever Molly was facing could also be her sister, her auntie, her nan. It's that connection, that solidarity between the sisterhood. And it was created for the sisterhood and with the sisterhood. And and also is important to say that lots of incredible men that were in their hearts really supported the creation of this and held it in a really safe, amazing way that we were able to do that. So I just wanted to honour both. I think ultimately all of these things exist, but they don't join up. And, I think that fundamentally, within child services, we have, because of the protection of the children, we have a child-focused system, but often that then misses out the opportunity for women to be kept with their children and supported to have their children in a safe way. I really do, having experienced homelessness myself, I believe housing is the bedrock of everything, really. I guess that when you have that, you can create safety and you can put down your walls, but you can also find a home in each other. And I think that's also really important, to be able to create spaces of community and to be able to find support networks or people that can see you and that you allow yourself to be seen as well. And like we see from Molly and Amina, it's transformational. And it's not the why I was so motivated to create the ending was not like, oh, and by the way, the government's going to save the day. It was really important that we find the strength and the rescuing from within, and that's what they show each other in their own way. They transform through the love that they have for one another. I don't know the answer to that question too much. I just stayed with the vision that it would. And, I really can't talk about the industry. I don't know enough about it, and I'm not embedded in it enough to know the answer. But behind the scenes, we had people really, really working hard throughout that time and really pushing and caring and believing. And for all of us, that worked within the film, it's kind of a process of surrender and trusting that it was going to happen. But so being here and actually being in a cinema and knowing that it has this incredible life to come where people can come and see it on a big screen and feel it all together is unbelievable. It's amazing.
And I think following from that, there was divine timing at the beginning, and I think there's divine timing now. I feel that even us sitting together with where I can only speak for myself, where I'm at in myself now, I feel really ready for this, for us to be able to talk about it. There's been some really beautiful moments already, being at screenings and having people come up and talk to me afterwards and either share their experiences because they feel really seen, or that they're learning something new. And ultimately what the duality of that is that people are feeling something, and to be able to really talk about that now. So I think there's also divine timing in it too.
Yeah, it's the perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of picking up off what Poe said, we've been having these preview screenings and kind of early screenings, and just seeing the audience's reaction and the fact that it resonates with different parts of people. And we've seen people say oh, I need to go and call my mum, come out of the cinema, I want to go and call my mum, or can you come over here, like, stranger, I need to tell you about this deep thing on my heart that I went through, and, you know, let's share this moment together. And, or we screened it and someone had been working in politics and felt a little bit disillusioned, and he watched it and he was like, I've got the fire in my belly to go back and make change. Yeah. And whenever I experience the film and what it does, how it moves people, it moves me very deeply.
Yes. Can I say something? You know, this kind of story can happen to anybody. I feel we've all got a line, and some of us have been pushed to nearer the line that it's easier to cross, but we don't know what that line is for anybody, and you can cross that line. So it's not a class thing, it's not a judgment thing. I think that's what it gets to me, just we don't know where it'll take us.
I think, music has always been such a big part of my life, and I think, so much can be felt, or like, it's the unsaid, it's what can't be said that you can express through music. And you know, that moment of the karaoke and the words that they sing to each other, like, I only want to be with you, but they can't necessarily have that or say that, but that moment in the song just allows that transcendence into what they're dreaming of. And obviously gigs and architect, and I just felt like, I think what I've learned is that in order to really feel, because I was quite disconnected from how I felt for so long, is that in order to really be able to feel joy, we have to allow ourselves to feel grief and pain. And the deeper that we can allow ourselves to feel that, the higher heights of joy. And those moments of joy are also through the music, that like, just like escapism, like the world disappears and you're just in that pure present moment. And when we also were very amazingly supported to workshop the script and have a couple of days in rehearsal with Posy and Idil, and I mean, we went deep and we did, worked with many things, but one of the things that was like the through thread for all of us was music.
Yeah, massively so.
And how impactful music had been through your lives in times when you needed it, or in times when you needed to celebrate. And then also when we had this incredible chemistry test with Lucy, we did a party, or we came up with a party idea, and Idil and Pose came in and they put on So Solid 21 Seconds and they rapped every word, and it was just like fireworks, and we were like, this is it, this is the one.
So tempted to ask you to do it now, but I won't.
Don't tempt me.
We will.
Thank you so much for your brilliant questions. Please give it up for the wonderful Lollipop panel. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing.